Welcome to another BMA 214 Black Sheep training video. What we're talking about today is the T-Pod. So what we're not talking about is weapons employment or anything to do with that. So we're going to stay in nav mode and we're just going to look at the functions of the T-Pod. There's a fair bit of discussion about how complex it is. It is complex, it has lots of different reversion levels, but the good news is it's all controlled off the HOTAS, which makes it pretty intuitive once you get used to the switching, and very easy to use quickly. The first thing is to make sure you do have your sensor select switch forward, aft, left, right and depress bound properly, and you also need your cursor control bound to axes or the depress and the depress, or the left, right, forward and aft switches. The other thing I like to use is the action no action button, so I want that available, and I like to use it generally in no action, and I'll show you why in a second. Firstly, to bring the T-Pod up, we are currently flying towards a target that is down there marked by red smoke, and we have the aircraft in nav master mode. Simply to bring it up, it's the sensor select switch depress twice short, and we have brought our T-Pod up. As you can see, it's T-Pod 1688 and it's currently in snowplow SNW PLW mode, and you can tell in the HUD there we have the octagonal T-Pod symbol, and it will maintain its position in the HUD snowplowing if we were to move. Now, what I can do in snowplow is move that T-Pod to look anywhere I like. So using the cursor control, I'm moving the T-Pod down, move it over the target area and look at that. So I can either do it internally or I can do it externally through the HUD. Now the interesting thing is it's not ground stabilized because I'm not using the action no action button, so I'm using no action at the moment. So when I release the cursor control, it just stays in its current location in snowplow mode. The mode hasn't changed, it's still snowplow. If I was to use the action part of action no action, it would, as soon as I release the cursor from moving, it would ground designate that and change it to a T-Pod des. Now that's why I find it handy, because if I place it here and I release the active pause, you'll see that it will move along the ground and the T-Pod's still in snowplow. I can point it at the target area and achieve a lock that way. We'll go back to active pause. Or I can just sweeten the position a little bit externally looking through the HUD, and then use the cursor control press to designate it. So let's do that now and watch what the mode changes from snowplow to T-Pod des. T-Pod des area mode with a lat and long of where I've desed and the elevation in feet. You can see the symbol has changed and we have a target diamond now at that designation, and we also have the octagonal T-Pod symbol where it's looking. So now's probably a good time to have a look at the different modes that we can use on the T-Pod, and they're all controlled from the sensor control switch, everything bar zoom. So let's have a look at sensor control switch left short, or sensor select switch left short I should say. We can see left short, I've got an expanded mode, so all I've done is gone to expanded, left short again, sensor select switch left short, back to expanded. So it's just a coarse zoom, which is really handy for zooming out of an area you're looking at, just to make sure there is no other target that might be better to target in the area you're looking at. You have your normal zoom controls up here on the DDI, and we have polarity control from FLIR to camera. There's FLIR and back to camera on the top left there, CCD, FLIR. but I'd rather control that from the HOTAS, so I can control it there. So if I want to switch to FLIR in the HOTAS, I can use the sensor select switch right long, so hold it for more than 0.8 of a second, and you can see it's gone into FLIR mode. Now it's in FLIR mode, sensor select switch right short will change the polarity. And there we go. I find black hot a lot better, and that's what we're in there now. A lot easier in DCS to use anyway. And we can sweeten that position a little bit, and you can see as I move I get track no des, track no des, track no des, and TPOD des. And as soon as I stop moving, TPOD des again. So I've just gone sensor select switch short left, and it zoomed in a little bit on the target, and we'll talk about the different modes of track. So at the moment you can see we're in aero track with AR enunciated down the bottom and boxed. Now I could press that AR button on the DDI, or I can just use the HOTAS, which is sensor select switch aft short, and it's gone point track. So let's zoom in a little bit. There's some vehicles there, and I'm just going to sweeten it a little bit and see if I can get a point track. There we go. So I've got now a point track on that vehicle, and if I wanted to, because it's a vehicle and it may move, I can go sensor select switch aft short again, and a moving track. So if that vehicle moves off, the TPOD will track it. Perfect for laser guided bombs, laser rockets. Not good for JDAMs because it's a GPS position. The vehicle will have moved off by the time you get your weapon impact. The other mode we have there in the aft is I can go sensor select switch aft long, and it's gone INR, so it's in an inertial position fed to that. And short, aft short again takes it back to area track. Now the other option is to turn the laser on. At the moment it's safe, and I'll bring that on. The only way to get it on is to hit safe in the DDI switch buttons, and make sure you get rid of TRNL, which is training laser, and make it a laser. And we could fire the laser and get a flashing L. If the L's there, it's armed. And if I go sensor select switch forward short, I will get a box around L tip there and get a range to wherever that laser or wherever the designation is. So I'll do that now. That box, and it's given me a range, which is good for when you're using weapons deployment with the TPOD. So they're your basic sensor control switch or sensor select switch modes that you control on the pod. The other thing we might want to do is if I slew off that target and go back to an undesignate and go to map des, track des, and that's just looking back at a waypoint behind us, and you can tell that because it's looking using the map. So if I go over the EHSD, I've got box designate there, target. So if I unbox that, it's now gone to HUD des, and surprise, the TPOD is now in the HUD. Now it's different to Snowplow in that we're back in the map mode, so we're not using the TPOD, we're actually using the map, but it's in the HUD. So to return it back to Snowplow, all I have to do is sensor select switch depress twice, and Snowplow, and we're back to where we were. Now if I wanted to bring that TPOD straight down to a pre-planned target or a waypoint, I can select the waypoint I want up here. So waypoint 2 I know is at my target, so 218 at 3.6 miles, which is correct. And there it is up there as a round symbol on the EHSD. And the HUD is looking, or the TPOD's looking straight ahead in Snowplow. I can then hit designate on the EHSD and box it. And it says designate STP, steer point. And sure enough, the T-pod is now looking back at that steer point, which happens to coincide with our target point. And if we have a look, we have map des, slave des. So what that's saying is we have designated a map position over here, which we know we did because we did it manually, but the T-pod is slaved to that designation. Now, to get back to T-pod des again, which is more useful for us, I just have to press the cursor control depress. Back there, and there we go, cursor control depress, and we're in T-pod des, and we can start the whole process again. So they're the basic modes for using the HOTAS and the T-pod. Next we'll look at handing off to JDAM or laser weapons. Thanks for watching.